Well, it is 4:01, so there are still people joining us, but that's okay. I'll make sure to let them in as they get here. First off, I just want to welcome everybody who was able to join us. My name is Tarisha Greyhorse. I'm the program director here for Friends of the Children, our Rapid City location. And I am so incredibly honored to introduce our cultural teachings with Richard Two Dogs, who, as many of you who are joining us know, is just such a joy and pleasure to learn from every time he shares with us. This teaching and the following teachings of this series are brought to you by Prairie Edge here in Rapid City. And it's honestly through their generous donations that we're able to offer these to everybody. But without further ado, I will turn it over to Gaka Rick, and I think if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will compile them, and then we can have a Q&A at the end. But thank you.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, my relatives, those of you that joined. Good evening. And today we're going to discuss the bringing of the sacred pipe to our people. In our language, I said I'm going to discuss the bringing of the pipe, and we have here Mr. Arvo Looking Horse, who is currently the keeper of the sacred pipe in a place called Greengrass, South Dakota, north of on the Cheyenne River Reservation. And originally, the pipe that was brought to us is made from a buffalo calf leg bone. Ptehinchila hohu Canunpa. So Ptehinchila is the buffalo calf, hohu is bone, and Canunpa is describing the pipe, so to speak. So the original pipe is not made of wood and pipestone. Those came later. So the story goes that the people were going through a famine. They couldn't find the buffalo, and they were literally starving. So these two young men went out into the hills to search for game, any type of game they could find, buffalo, antelope, deer, or whatever they could find. And they sat on a hilltop, and which is what modern hunters do today. Is they get to the higher ground and they scan the countryside to see if they spot deer or antelope, or in those days buffalo. Also, you could see the enemy if they were somewhere around. So they were sitting there observing, and they saw something moving coming towards them. So they sat real still and watched. And as they approached, this person, they realized, and it was a young woman. She was carrying a bundle on her back, and she approached them. And the story goes, one of the young men had bad thoughts about her, being like, it was like out there in the wilderness, and she had no protection. So he supposedly was going to take advantage of the situation, which was wrong because this was a sacred woman and she was bringing us a gift. So she read his thoughts because she's a sacred woman. She said, what you're thinking, come and do what you have in your mind. So he approached her, and a cloud came from above. You can le khab ya ha koskala kaki le ho hu echelach pat. So when the cloud went back up, he was a skeleton, and etan zuzecha owetonia kabia iapi kapi. So there was all snakes of different kinds that came out of his body and left. So the story goes, before that time, there was no snakes in our country. So the teaching behind that is these bad thoughts produce other bad things in our lives. And so from that teaching, we are told that we must live by the spiritual laws, and I'll talk about some of those later on in the presentation. So she told him to take back the message that she was coming to the village and that she was bringing a gift to the people, which was the sacred pipe that she was carrying on her back. So she said, watch for me, watch for a black cloud under the sun. And when you see that black cloud, prepare. So they watched, and however long of time elapsed during that period is not known. It's not known. It's not recorded in history. She might have came, right away, maybe 10 years. We don't know, but she told him the sign that they were going to see when she approaches. And one day, this young man who was the one that met her, the one that survived, met her out in the wilderness. He survived. He saw the black cloud under the sun. So they hurriedly prepared, and all the chiefs and the holy men came into the teepee in the center, the council lodge. In our language, they call it Te'iokihe. There's a lodge that is inside the camp circle, and it faces to the east. And then right directly behind it, in the place of honor, which is the Chatku, is where the chiefs and the headmen and the holy men stayed in their teepees. So this was kind of towards the middle of the camp circle. Hochokata, Ikela, close to the center, was the teepee Iokie. So this is where the chiefs and the holy men gathered together to have meetings on current things that were happening, and they talked about moving camp, and if there was a time when there was enemies in their country, what they claimed as their country, then they would decide whether to send war parties to expel them from our land or whatever. So this is where a lot of the decisions were carried out. So these holy men gathered in this Tiikcha, the Tipi Iokihe, and she approached from the west, according to the stories of the old people. And she circled to the left around the camp circle and entered from the east. And then she went to the left and then went in a circle and came in front of the Tipi Iwokihe, the council lodge. And she entered inside. And as she approached, though, she was singing a song. And she carried the bundle in her arms in front of her. And she turned in a circle and entered the lodge. and inside there was waiting the chiefs and the holy men, and the chief of the camp was his name was Tatranka Woslanaji, Buffalo Standing Upright was his name, and uh, he was of the Hokwoju people, the people that now occupy the Cheyenne River Reservation. So she put the bundle down and she instructed him what was in there. She said it was a gift from the Creator for the people to take care of and live by the laws that surrounded this sacred pipe and this way of living and this way of praying. She said, and there were 7 laws, and she said there's going to be 7 ceremonies that are associated with this sacred pipe. So she said, and only the good will look upon it, and the people that are bad will not look upon it. He said, and you will use it in every aspect of your life, and you will live by the laws of the sacred pipe and the laws of our people, the laws that were brought to our people. So the laws that were given to our people was Wonspeki Tuktetaha Unkichupi. Where did the teachings come from? So there was a woman named Wahochpi, the term for nest, the name of the woman that came to the earth from the sky, daughter of Ampewi and Mahepiwi. So she brought 7 sacred laws to ensure the Lakota nation would be healthy mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So so she became, she was Wahohpi and came to earth as Ptesami, first white buffalo woman. She brought the Canunpa, the sacred pipe, and the teachings that go with it. So she instructed the laws to these holy men and this chief. So it was their job to pass these laws on to the people. So who gathered next was the elderlies, and the elderly people, the unchis and the kakas or the lalas, as they say. And they were told the laws, the spiritual laws of the pipe. And then they were instructed to uh, teach their tiwahe, their families, and their tioshpayes, and their oshpayes, and the oyate. So that's how these teachings get passed down. So in the Wowa Hukukie, this practice still exists to this day. It's getting less and less because with the passing of the old people, there's hardly anybody that knows these Wowahukunkie. So when you break the word Wowahukunkie, it means collectively the teachings from the ancestor, Hukanke, the ancestors. That's what we call our ancestors, Hunkanke. So that's why in the Hunkan ceremony, we also talk about the Ohunkanke, the ancestors. So when you make relatives in the Hunkan ceremony, you're making relatives with all of the people. So one of the spiritual laws in the Wowahukukie is Wa'onshila, or compassion. So the biggest example of living by that, in which a lot of us still know, where we learned from our unchis and kakas, is compassion and wa'onshila. So the teaching with it is duayati elhi hanta woyak ukte. Feed everyone who comes to your home. And then there's the spiritual law of wowachwala, humility. Dohani nigla onihakteshni. Never boast of your achievements. If you live in a humble way, you will never boast of your achievements. The woksape, the wisdom. Ipuchnia wa echushneo are ye. Never do anything without first thinking it through. So that's an example of woksape or wisdom. So ipuchnia is an old word meaning without thinking, without regard, you come to a decision or you do something. So they say ipuchnia wa echushneo or wa echushneye. Never do anything without first thinking it through. The next law is wachantoganaka, generosity. So it says the example of generosity is nake nakun ichete etan iekchu ash wichaya ukte. When someone comes to your home, feed them, even if it means you go without. So nakun ichete etan iekchu is like symbolically something that you would eat. You will not eat it, and you would feed your visitors first or your guests, and then that means like you took it out of your mouth and gave it to them. So that's what that talks about. Wo hitike wo achintranka fortitude. Daku heki hena takomene ichanuk ta hecha. Whatever you say you're going to do, you must complete it. Whatever you're going to do or say you're going to do, you must complete it. So we see a lot of that in our society today, is that promises are made and they're never kept. We see that all of the time. And then wo'ohitika, courage. Doketo ash blihich alpo, or blihich alpi, as the female would say. No matter what, take courage, which is very hard to do, because one of the examples would be if you're going through grief, you have to put your grief aside at a certain time and move forward for the sake of the people, or for the sake of your children, your grandchildren, your family. So the women are very courageous people, because they brought us through the generations, taking courage and putting the people first and their family first. And so they brought us here, and they're the backbone of our people. So I have a lot of respect for the females. And the next one is wa'ohola, respect. Wayu oni hampi hanta nish ian niu oni hampikte. Lo or yeah. If you respect yourself, people respect you also. And you also carry this respect in yourself all of the time. So if you respect yourself firstly, then you will respect other people. So this is how the laws, the governance, or the social law among our people was seen in our as Lakotas in our worldview. So the bottom of everything, where everything came from, was the spiritual law, Daku Wakhan. So in our everyday life, we protected what is sacred to us, our sacred objects like the sacred pipe, the drum, our medicines. We protected the people that carried this sacred power. The spiritual people were protected. There was a time when they were taken care of. They would be gifted things like horses and food, and they made sure that they didn't want for anything, because of their spiritual power. Also, that extended to the old people too, the elderlies, as we say, the wakan in our people, the sacred people, and then the elderly, and then the children, and then the sickly, the infirm were put first. Always, they ate first. When a camp moved, the elderly, the children, and the sickly people determined the pace. So, however quickly or slowly they moved, determined the pace of the camp when they were moving. Uh, a lot of times I see today, an example would be when there's a public meal, like a feed. I notice a lot of times everybody rushes to the food, and sometimes they'll forget the elderly. They'll have to get in line, and in some places where people know the teachings, the elderly are always fed first, or they're told to take a place at the table, and then the food will be brought to them. So to that extent, we still practice the spiritual laws. So there's above the spiritual law, next to it is the natural law. So Maka'o Chawama Kashka is what is written there in Lakota. The natural law encompasses everything that in our society, like um, how we interact and we live with Makasi Domania. We respected the animals at one time, and we didn't kill just for sport, but we killed animals to survive because we needed their flesh and their hides for clothing, and so it was a matter of like survival. We never killed for sport long ago. And then when we went out to something as simple as harvesting sage, um, we would like make sure that we didn't pull the roots up. And then when we harvested medicine, we would dig the root out, and then put tobacco in and take the top of the plant and put it back into the soil, and then cover it with the tobacco. And next year, when you come back, you will find another medicine growing there. So we were taught to conservationists, and so that's the natural law is a part of that, and the spiritual law is also a part of that. So the spiritual law stands by itself, and so does the natural law, but they're all a part of each other. So the spiritual law is encompasses also like the sacred objects. So whenever we were put onto the reservations, the priests combined with the United States government wanted to break our spirit and break our way of life. So they swept through the reservations, and they confiscated the medicine bottles of the holy men. So my grandfather, his name was Little Warrior. He said, I made another bundle," he said, "and it wasn't the one I used to doctor. I just made one that was a replica of everything," he said. "And this is what I gave to them," he said. "So I didn't give them the bundle that I used to heal people," he said. "So I cut a hole uh, in a hollow cottonwood tree," he said, "and I took the bark and I made a hole because these trees, these big cottonwood trees are hollow," he said. "And I put my medicine bundle in there," he said, "and I put the bark back on. And that's where I hid my medicine bundle," he said. So they took the one that was a replica, he said. So, but they were satisfied. He said they never bothered me again. But I continued later on to when the ban was somewhat lifted. He said I continued to heal the people through the real medicine bundle that I carried. He said. So he practiced the ceremony of healing and the practice of the ceremony of what they call Uweepi. That's what he did. He lived in the area of what is now Kyle, South Dakota, American Horse Creek. So moving up to custom law, Oyate Opichapi. So custom law encompasses how people live and interact with each other. So an example of custom law is, say, we as Lakotas, we do not speak to our mother-in-laws. and the females do not speak to their father-in-laws. And in fact, there was complete avoidance of each other. So when my wife's mother was alive, my unchishi, my mother-in-law, I never would stay in the same room with her, and I would never talk with her directly. I would never talk to her. If I had to speak to her, I had no choice. I would speak through a third person, and she would do the same with me. And when my mother-in-law needed to speak to me, she would use a third person. And I remember one time my mother had to speak to my brother-in-law, which was her son-in-law. So she used a cat. So this cat, she told this cat, if somebody gathers some wood and some kindling, I'll start a fire and I'll bake some bread for supper. So that cat was sitting there looking at her. So, but he heard it, so he went out and you could hear him chopping wood outside, and he brought in some wood and some bark, and he started the fire. So then my mom um, start cooking, but he came back and he was washing up, and then he didn't want to stay in the room. So after he went outside and he did that, then he kept on working on his car, and because he didn't want to be in the house, because they would have been the only two in the house, and I was still at school, so, and my brother was still at school. So if we were home, she could have relayed her message through us, but since nobody was home, she used the cat. So this is one example of custom law. There's other ones like one would be when an elder speaks, don't interrupt him, or don't argue with them. That's one custom law is reverence for the elderly, the older people. So that's a custom law. Uh, and I know some of you that are listening are familiar with a lot of these, and you could probably come up with your own examples also. And then the one on top is governance or social law, Oyate Ptaela. So this is where the Inila Wotapi come in, and the Wichashaya Tampika, the shirt wearers, and the Nacha, the headsmen of the Tioshpais. So we are still intact. We still have this way of governance. It's not recognized by the government, but it's still there. So in the Tiwahe, usually the mother is the one of the household who pretty much oversees everything along with the husband. So inan ate. And then if you're fortunate in your tioshpai to still have your kaka, as we say among the Oglalas, and like among the Hochwoju, the Cheyenne River people, they say lala. And I think the Hunkpapka say lala also. So, and the Unchi, they oversee pretty much the Tioshpai. So the Tioshpai is a group of families that they pick their own leader. He is called a Nacha. So that way of governance is still there, and a lot of times these elder women and men will carry on this role even though sometimes they weren't formally recognized. They weren't recognized as leaders, but they took on the role and they function as leaders. So we still have them. And so where you see it in play is when there's a death in the family and in a tioshpai, then the people all come together and they help each other with food and give away items, and somebody decides the funeral arrangements, and like that, these people fall into their role. And so the government doesn't recognize this form of governance, even though it still exists and it's existed for thousands of years. And it probably will still continue to exist for a while anyway. So another place that you see this is in in like a ceremony, like a Sundance. So the Tioshpaya comes together. There might be several Tioshpayas. Today, a lot of people come from other areas of the country to Sundance, and a lot of tribes still continue to practice their Sundance, but a lot of tribes come to us and then participate in our ceremonies, which is good because we as Lakotas and as Oglalas, we've always shared, what we had. That's our belief. And so at these sundances, the Tioshpai still comes together, and the Onchis, the grandmothers, decide certain things, and then the Kakas and the Lalas, the older people, the older men, decide several things, and then under the guidance of the holy men, then things are carried about, and the understanding of the importance of continuing to Sundance to pray and to fulfill your vows and to continue in this way of thinking and in this world view under the Sundance is still carried on to this day. So that's what I say that this still exists. And then we have the IRA government, which existed since 1934. And sometimes they come and they try to go into this other way of governance, but it doesn't work out because there's not a place for it in that because of the structure of their government. So they more like pattern towards the Western society's form of governance. So we will continue in this way as far as I know, as far as I can see. And there's at least 3 Tioshpais, and if there's more, I'm not aware of them, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. But there's at least 3 Tioshpais that have reorganized on this reservation. And what they did was they carry a Tioshpai pipe, which is used at the sundances, and where I live, the knife chief Ironclad Tioshpai, where I'm married into, they have a Sundance. It's called Wachampa after one of their great grandfathers. And so they have a Sundance. And they rekindled their fire in 2020 during the beginning of the pandemic. They formally came together. They put up a teepee and they lit their fire inside there. And they took their tiosh by a pipe in there and they prayed. The elders prayed with it and then they smoked it. So ake pia oyate ichagapi. They made themselves into an oyate, a people again. And then I think the White Plumes from the Manderson area, they also went about this and did this also. And then in Oglala, the star comes out. Tioshpai also did that also. So, and if there's more, I haven't heard, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. So this governance is based on also social law. So ayate, patayala, the people together. So the sacred pipe has 4 laws with it. Canunpa tawokhe. And the first one is never lie with the sacred pipe. Canunpa kile yuha dohani oie wa kankashnio. That's how you say it in Lakota. And the second law is never turn your back on your people. So if you carry a sacred pipe, you have to live by these laws. So you will never lie with the sacred pipe. So whenever the pipe is involved, whatever you say you're going to do, you have to do it. And you can never turn your back on your people. So there's daily examples of these that we live by. One is always to tell the truth when the pipe is uh, used or in ceremony, and never turn your back on your people. And then never use the pipe to hurt anyone. Dueni chanopale yuha untkhonyeshnyo. And when I receive the sacred pipe, I will do what you ask of me. So these laws, when you break them, then we have a word for it. It's called woachtani. So when the priest came to those old men, when we came onto the reservation, and they wanted to Christianize us, they said, they talked about the sins that they talk about in the Bible. So they said, "Do you have an idea of what a sin is?" So those old men said, "Yes, woachtani," and they were talking about these things here. Uh, so uh, an example would be what I spoke in the about earlier in the other slide was if you somebody comes to your home and you don't feed them, then you're breaking a spiritual law. That is so that is woachtani. But so when the priests heard that, they said no. They said that's not a sin. But to us, in our worldview, it is a sin. So that's they kind of bumped heads there as because we have different worldviews. Uh, so and they said the priests kind of left frustrated, I guess, because our idea of sin was different than theirs. So here are examples of spiritual law. And we wakhamwichasha tchawo laws that are part of a man's vision. Here's example of a spiritual law is we yohi la apich api. So this person on their monthly cleansing, they never attend ceremony during monthly cleansing. Because that does not mean she's dirty or bad or contaminated, but her power in her cleansing, which is the power to create life, she's cleansing her body of that for 1 month. It clashes with the power of what is being done, like the ceremony, healing ceremony, or if the holy man or holy woman administers like some type of herb, it will her power would neutralize what is being administered there, whether it's a doctoring ceremony or if it's a certain type of herb used to doctor them. Her power as in her cleansing state would neutralize that. You never walk in front of a person smoking a chanupa. Dua chanupa onji umbianke hanta itokab ilaning dishni. The reason for that is there's a belief that there's a connection happening between that man smoking that pipe and the creator and the spirit helpers he works with. So if you walk in front of him, you break that communication. And then you never walk across in front of the firekeeper hauling the stones at Inipi. For the same reason, you're breaking that connection. And then the another one is never walk across the east gate at Sundas. It's for the same reason is the spirits come and enter from the east through that east gate. So if you walk across, they will stop and they would actually turn back to spirits. So you're breaking the power of the prayers and what's happening inside of that sacred circle. And then, of course, I talked about the natural law, the makhaon shawama kashkana ikchevichash. So how we lived in nature, how we used the herbs to heal ourselves, and how we use the wamakashkan, the sacred animals, to live. So the first medicine men among our people, it is told that it was men that were called Tathanka Ihambala, the buffalo dreamers were the first medicine men. And then next came the Matkowapia, the bear dreamers, the people that used the power of the bear to heal. So these were the first two healers that we had among our people. So this is Oyate Tchaomanichi, the people's government. So this is how it was set up long ago, and this is an example of the governance that I talked about in the other slide. So the four Inila Wota, which was the silent eaters, they were old men that were chosen for this position, and it was called sometimes a feasting society. So these old men sat in the teepee and deliberated on certain decisions, and food was brought to them, and they stayed in this teepee for days, several days, till they came to a consensus on whatever they were meeting about. And then we had four wakichums there. They carried out the decisions of the Inila Wota. And then they had their own roles too. And the symbol of them is a sacred pipe. So they were each given a sacred pipe, and they were to oversee the social and the spiritual governance of the people. These four wakichuns. And then there was four Wichasha Atampika. They were shirt wearers. Wichapchehi Ogle, they call it in our language, sworn to always protect the people. So the last four was Crazy Horse, American Horse, Sword, and Young Man Afraid of His Horses. These were the last shirt wearers among the Oglalas. And I'm sure Sichangus had theirs. The Hochwojus had theirs, the Hunk Papcha, they had theirs. And I don't know about the Wichela Oyate, the people that speak with D and N. I'm sure they had theirs too. So they were the last four among our people, the ones that I named. And then we hear in history about how Crazy Horse was promised to marry this young woman, and this older man named No Water, took her because the young woman's father chose No Water over Crazy Horse because he had more. He was kind of more well off as far as his standing in the community and in the tribe. So he influenced her to go and marry him. So Crazy Horse was heartbroken, and later on, after she had children, she chose to go with Crazy Horse and leave her husband and her children. And so her and Crazy Horse went on a hunt together with some of Crazy Horse's warriors, and No Water found out and followed them. And uh, in those days they would load their own bullets. So what he did was he borrowed a pistol from a gentleman who used what they call a half load. He put half of the gunpowder in the bullet when he was loading it, because they would load their own bullets long ago. So he had a half load in that bullet. So whenever he rushed into that teepee and he said, Kola Wahilo, my friend, I am here. And he shot Crazy Horse in the face. But what saved his life partially was that bullet was only a half load. So it hit his mouth and it went along his cheek and exited underneath his ear. So if it was a full load, it probably would have blew his head apart. But because it was a half load, it didn't do the damage it could have. And some of it is attributed also to his medicine. That's why he also survived bullet wound. So there was almost a battle within the Oglalas. They almost fought each other. The ones that supported Crazy Horse and the ones that were with no water, there was almost a battle right among the Oglalas. So the Wichasha or the Wakichuns, they intervened, and they did what they call today restitution. So they brought both families together, the leaders, and they exchanged. They gave gifts. Crazy Horses people gave gifts to No Waters people to appease them, and they created peace. So the No Waters people also gave gifts to Crazy Horses people. And here one day, Crazy Horse was out hunting, and he saw No Water, so he chased him and shot at him with a gun. And he said, "Here's a bullet back for the one that you sent me." And he chased No Water, but No Water had a faster horse, and he was able to get away. So they saw it as, among the leaders of the Oglalas, they saw it as he broke a spiritual law, Crazy Horse, because uh, both sides exchanged gifts. They took gifts, no, Crazy Horse's people, but yet he retaliated when he saw uh, No Water. So he broke the spiritual law in the sense that he was Muchasha Atapika. He was sworn to always protect the people, but he put his own wants and needs first, is what they said. So these Inila Wota went into council, and they deliberated for several days and came to the conclusion to take um, Crazy Horse's shirt from him and his position. So he was no longer seen as a Wichasha Yatampika, but he still carried a lot of influence and popularity among the younger people. So it really didn't hurt him politically, because when he went to war, he still had these young men follow him to war, and to always look to him for guidance and for leadership. So uh, he was still looked at as a leader in that way. So this is an Oglala Camp Circle, 1879, from a Sundance that was held south of White Clay, Nebraska, on a place called Larrabee Creek. So this is how we camped at that time. So the loafers, which are called the Wagaluche, these are the people that settled west of Pine Ridge. Red Cloud community on west towards what they call Slim Buttes. Then on top was the Oyuchbe, and it's a word that means unloaded, like to cast something aside, leave something, like unload something and leave it. And then the next one was the bad face, Iteshicha, the true Oglala. And they're the ones that settled right in the community of Pine Ridge, the town. And then the Osage, the Wajaje, is the people that settled in Porcupine, where I live. So these people here are called Wajaje. And they actually have ties with the Osage people in Oklahoma. So these people come to visit. I remember my mother telling me that they came in the 1920s, and they were financially real well off, and they brought brand new cars, and they still were connected to their relatives here in Porcupine. So they brought their relatives cars and blankets and food, and they pulled horse trailers with horses in there. They gave them to the people here. And because they still remembered their connection here, and they still remembered their relatives. So that's what Wajaja means. It means Osage. And then the people in Kyle, in that area, they're called the Kiuksa, the break in two. And then there's the spleen, the Trapishlecha band, and their chief. was name was Whitebird, and they were settled between the people in Prayabia and what is now Red Cloud School. That's where Sapa-Official lived, and then Prayabia is further north towards Oglala. That's where, and their chief was a young man afraid of horses. So, and the loafers were the Wagluke was their chief was Rekla. The unloaded or the Oyukhbe, their chief was Big Road. And then among the bad faces was also Red Cloud also. And then the Wajaje, the Osage was Knife Chief and Iron Claw. And then among the Kyuksa was Little Wound, Pawnee Killer, and American Horse was their leader. To break the sacred laws, there's a word called Anapcheichapi. Misfortune will come upon you or the people. And the ultimate payment is a person will lose their life. So people greatly feared, like I said, greatly feared the sacred things and breaking the sacred laws. So my mother tells about a story here in Porcupine, and she lived east of Porcupine and further east in a community called it was at one time called Preshlau, but somehow it got the name Brotherhood, and I don't know where that name come from. My mother doesn't know either, because these people are called Preshla Oyate in that area. Oh, the bald-headed people. So she talks about in the summertime in the afternoon, the storm came up, and there was suddenly a loud crack, like lightning struck something. And then the clouds moved on and it rained a little bit, and then the clouds moved on, and then the sun came out. And here a man was coming on a horse at top speed from the east, and he came to my mother, where my mother lived with her parents and grandparents. And her grandfather, one of them, his name was Kills Crow Indian, but he was also, his name was Rock, Samuel Rock, and he was a medicine man. And so he came and he said, Hiupo, Hiupo, Hiuna Oma Kiapo. He said, "Mi chuki wakian ktepelo." He said, "Come and help me. My son, my wife was killed by lightning." So my grandpa and my grandma and my mother, they had a team hitched up already. So they jumped onto the wagon and the seat. My grandmother and grandfather and my mother jumped in the back and was sitting in the back of the wagon, and they went over there to this home, and it was about half a mile to a mile, about half a mile down the creek east of Porcupine. So they went in. He was there waiting for them, and he said, "She's lying in there." So she went into the house with my grandma and grandpa, and here there was a woman laying on the floor, and she said she looked really strange. So I looked close at her, and here she had a frying pan on her face, and the handle was wrapped around her neck. And he said her hair looked red. So I looked close at him, and here there were red stickers in her hair. She said, she said, I don't know how they got in her hair, but there was red stickers in her hair. So if you walk in the weeds, a lot of times these stickers will stick to your legs. They're kind of a reddish brown color. That's what she had in her head. So my grandfather prayed for her immediately with his sacred pipe, and there was another man named High Eagle who lived in the area. He was a medicine man too. So he came and they both prayed, and this man had a sweat lodge. So they built a fire and they went in and prayed about what to do. And here the spirits told my grandpa and the medicine man High Eagle both that This woman had a dream of the thunder to be a heoka, but she didn't do it. So that's why the lightning killed her. And they said she'll live in the spirit world with that frying pan on her face. That'll be her mask because she was supposed to wear a mask and perform her dream, but she didn't do it. So my mother said no matter how they tried, they couldn't get that frying pan off her face. So they said, wrap her. The spirits told those medicine men to wrap her in a blanket and bury her immediately. So there was no wake or anything. So they took her to the top of the hill and they dug a grave in a hurry and they wrapped her in a star quilt and they buried her. But my mother said that her body was bloating and getting bigger and bigger. So they buried her with that frying pan on her face. So that's an example. She misfortune will come upon you. That's what happened. And we trust a person will lose their life, which was in this case, this person here. So that concludes our presentation for today, the bringing of the pipe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I just wanted to say I got on late because I was with a client, but hi Uncle Rick, it's Madonna out here in California. So just
Hello,
so good to so good to hear your voice. And then is this something that happens like the last Monday of the month, or just does it just come whenever?
Yes, we do it once a month. We did take some time off for the summertime just because it's such a busy time. But yes, we will have one for the following months.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yes. Hello. Hello, Gakarick. This is Dakota Jacob from California.
Hello.
I have a question regarding so is there like let's say someone has a dream, Wakan dream. Is there like a time period as to when they have to come, talk about it?
Yeah, it's usually a lot of these dreams are carries like a fear, like a almost like a compelling fear. So that's what drives a lot of people to seek some type of answers or what they should do. Not always the case, but in a lot of the cases. So, but in your spirit, in your naki, when you should deal with it, because you can't just let it go. There's and the spiritual law says that you'll have to find out what is the meaning and what you're supposed to do, what is your role in life, spiritually anyway.
Okay, popular Gaka.
Mm.
I have a question. I sent these. Hey Jake, it's me, Susie. To me, Susie. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
hello. Yeah, here. How's it going?
Okay. Okay, so are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done asking the question.
Okay. Hi Kaka, this is Susie and Cecilia.
Mm.
Well, Wopila Tonka for the teachings. So my question is this: if someone attempted suicide, are they able to make a Canunpa and be a pipe carrier or no?
Attempted suicide?
Yeah, they attempted suicide, and from that, they no longer drink or use drugs. They got sober, and living a good life. Or try, you know what I mean, trying to Are they able to be a pipe carrier, make a Canunpa Wakan and be a pipe carrier?
Yes,
Mm.
because if they follow down that path, then it'll help them. You know what was it that drove them to become suicidal? You know, they apparently they need healing in that aspect.
Huh, Wopida, because yeah, it was medication. Um anyways, he said it was medication that really was, it wasn't him, but medication, overuse of medication. mm, He just said he'd never do that normally.
Mhm.
And then are they able to Sundance?
Yes.
Gosh, and in terms of family, is there anything that we could do for them? Although it's been a few years, it's been quite a few years, but we prayed and we had ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Just to continue to pray for them, huh? As family?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give them support because they need support.
Okay, huh.
I want to know how-
Well, the Tonka, Kaka, here's Cecilia, she has a question too.
Leila takuku ota washtem spell ya kapia ke.
Mm.
La wa eunk tun jab cha.
Mm.
La we nuch cha la wa honi cha lig la wa wak tun she. Le we cha sha dopa le wash ake we chak crazy horse sword, young man afraid of horses, and fourth one ki do he.
Crazy horse, young man afraid of horses, American horse, and sword.
Crazy horse, American horse, Cha hena inska wash akewa hena inska wichak upiki hena tiwahit chawa piki hena okib hanta hena yuhamani piktahe.
Okay.
Okib piha, Cham heli like look chama hena wash ake wash de wichak upcha tiwahit chawa piki Shkahin na hena ish yuhamani na wa oke apoki piche.
Mm. Okay.
Pilau yapi.
Oh, first.
We
I
have,
I have a question. We're talking about, the 7 values and then, the animals and everybody, the Mother Earth, Unchimaka, Father Sky, everybody teaches us things and gives us signs. Well, I had a hawk, and I don't know the story of a hawk or why, the meaning behind it. But I had a hawk that came to my house, and I thought he was injured.
Mhm.
So I sat on the my front porch with him, and he sat right beside me, and I didn't know what to do, so I just started talking to him, put out medicine, and just prayed with him. But he just sat right beside me. I mean, it was, and I don't know the story behind that, but it has to be something with our 7 values. I was told that they were messengers
Mhm.
for our warriors when they would go out.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you could kind of give me a little insight on that, I appreciate that.
Yeah. They're kind of like messengers for war. They protected the warriors. And one worked with a crazy horse. So he had a stuffed hawk tied to his hair. And they say that when the warriors that rode beside him, he went into battle, that hawk would come to life and would flap his wings. And so whenever they circle on top above us in the sky, they make a screaming sound. So a lot of people think that that's an eagle, but hawks are the only one that make a screaming sound. And eagles don't make that sound. They make like a chirping sound. So people get them confused when they hear the hawk that make that screaming sound, and they think it's an eagle, but eagles don't make that sound. But they were they assisted the warriors in war, the hawk. they said their medicine is that if a hawk dives at something, he don't turn back till he gets his prey. So they say that's why they use the hawk, so that the warrior would never turn back.
Well, I just thought it was, I mean, it was,
I think you're on mute if you're talking.
Yeah, I wonder if we lost her for
Might have.
Wi-Fi or something.
Yeah, talk.
Perfect.
So I don't know what that means. They said that he's given me a message and I don't know anything beyond that.
Yeah, if like a message, it could take maybe a while to know what it is, what message he brought, but that's not ordinary for him to come to you like that. You don't usually do that.
Well, that's what I thought too, and I was kind of scared because so I didn't move. I just sat on my porch and then he just came and sat right beside me and I was like afraid to even move.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on my phone texting people and saying, what do I do? Look at, he's right here, and taking pictures, and but he didn't do anything. And then he keeps coming back. He's been back like 3 times now.
Mm-hmm. Feed him.
I have been. Yeah.
Yeah. And then put some tobacco on the ground and pray that his message is a good message. And ask him for protection, because he'll protect you and your home.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you so much, because I didn't know what that meant, and I've been trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you. We do have a question in the chat. The question is, what is the meaning of the word Canunpa? I have heard it means two wood, but if the original pipe was made of bone, it wouldn't match up.
It comes from the word Trachanumpa. Trachanumpa nupa. Trachanumpa is where it comes from. Tracha is the body, Numpa is two. So it's means the two bodies are male and female. So the stem represents the male and the bowl represents the female. So they say that when a male and female joins together, then there is life. So when you put the stem into the bowl and play with it and offer tobacco through it, then there's life.
Perfect. And then one last question in the chat. What was the Kills Crow man's name that came?
His name was Samuel Kills Crow. His name was also Samuel Rock. So half the family goes by Rock, and half the family goes by Stone. So that makes me closer related to the late Roy Stone, the holy man from Rosebud.
Perfect. Well, good. If any of the rest of you have any questions at all, you are more than welcome to send me them on email. It's getting a little late, so I just want to be mindful of our time together. But this teaching is recorded, and I will make sure to post it to our official YouTube channel. And then as such, we'll post it to our official social media pages. But honestly, again, thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. And honestly, like I said, these teachings together are so precious. So thank you for them. Lala, we love hearing from you. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great night. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions and I will pass them along.
Tokshake.
Good night.
Have a
Thank
good-
you. Keep posting your funny stuff, Uncle Rick. I love it.
All right. All right.
Okay. I love you. Bye.
All right. Love you. Bye. Bye, everybody.